Gents, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing okay. In today's video, I wanted to discuss the importance of commitment and ensuring that you don't become a guy who doesn't give everything that he has to give to anything that he's involved in. Ensuring that you are the guy who doesn't leave any stone unturned. He shows up, he does the job to the absolute best of his ability, and he turns up the next day and does the same again. A big mistake that a lot of guys make is at the start of ventures, they're already looking for the end. They're already planning the exit. And because of this, they never really buy into anything. They never really buy in enough to become skilled enough to get the results that they're looking for. Some guys do this for a really long time, and some guys end up just jumping from one thing to the next because they're thinking, oh, I'm going to do this job for this amount of time, then I'm going to go to that job, then I'm going to do that, and my career is just going to progress. But because they're not in it mentally, because they're not giving everything that they have to give and working hard enough to attain the skills to become better, they don't get better. They're looking for an exit. But in reality, they should be giving everything they've got. And not because you want to give everything you've got to a particular company. And by the way, look, there's some great companies out there. If you've got a company that supports you and looks after you, pay them back. Give them everything you've got, because if you give value to them, they're going to give it back to you, especially if you're in some kind of sales capacity, sales position. If you make the company £1 million, they're not going to have a problem giving you 100,000. They'll probably do that happily, especially if it's a good company. But a lot of guys won't realize that success. They won't realize those returns because they're in their own way. They're thinking about the exit. They're trying to get out before they're really in. They're taking shortcuts. And if you take shortcuts, at some point or another, it's going to come and bite you. You will get cut short. It's an expression that a friend of mine says. If you take shortcuts, you're going to get cut short. Be the guy who commits. Be the guy who does everything and more that he's supposed to do. That is going to make you better. That is going to make you more skilled, and that is going to get you closer and closer to where you want to be. It's good to be ambitious. It's good to want to climb. It's good to want to, in some ways, climb quickly. But sometimes a lot of guys get in their own way because they want to climb too quick. They want to progress too fast. Sometimes you have to accept the reality. Humble yourself and accept the reality that it's going to take some time. You cannot just job hop, work somewhere for 6 months, work somewhere else for 6 months. At some point or another, somebody's going to look at you and they're going to look at your resume and they're going to say, why have you never been able to hold down a place for more than a year? Why are you always jumping like a little tree frog? And they're going to have a fair point. Now again, ambition isn't bad, but hopping around all over the place because you're just unsettled and trying to rush success, trying to rush the process is not a good look. Slow down. Maybe your long-term goal is to get out of the corporate world, maybe, right? Maybe you want to be self-employed, and that's admirable. It's a good aim, to be one day in charge of your own destiny, right? Not relying on an employer to pay the bills, not relying on somebody to put food on the table, but relying on yourself. That is a good aim. But In order to attain that reality, there is a necessary process that must be undertaken. You're going to have to do some work for a period of time in order to get good enough to look after yourself, to grow whatever you're working on in the side, to get to the level where it takes over your job. It's going to take some time. Maybe you're making YouTube videos, maybe you're trying to grow a channel. It'll take years. It'll take years and years and years, and you've got to be prepared for that. Because if you're not prepared for that, I would say to you, do you really deserve this success? Because most people on the YouTube platform who've done really well and amassed a large following have been doing it for a very, very long time. If you go and study the backstory of Mr. Beast, you'll know that he was doing this for years and years and years with very, very low signs of success, little sign of things picking up, any traction. A few thousand followers, but he was working his socks off. And then, after maybe 5 or 6 years, things started to really roll. Things started to pick up. But if you think, and this doesn't just have to be YouTube, this can be whatever, if you think that you're just gonna get this life that you want in a really short space of time, and that's your strategy, you got another thing coming. It can happen. And look, I want to see you do well. If you end up speed running success and getting lucky with whatever it is that you're doing on the side, great. Fair play to you. And, you know, I hope you manage that. And I hope that you excel within that. But most people don't. 99% of guys don't get success quick. They don't speed run the process. The guys that do become successful generally took a long time. Took a long time, and they weren't just doing that one thing. They were working a job, and any time they had on the side, they were putting the camera down, they were hitting record, and they were going. Or they were writing the blog or the article, or they were creating that bit of software, or they were trying to work on that business in the spare time, and they worked a job in the main time. Be prepared to do the main bit. Be prepared to do the main bit, and while you're at it, be as good as you can possibly be at your job. Be the best person in your company. Be the best sales guy. Be the best whatever it is. Aim high in anything and everything that you do. That's the one thing I wanted to get across today. It's all good that your plan A is something else, but you're not there yet. And it's never good to put all your eggs in one basket, because maybe plan A isn't a good plan. Maybe plan A isn't going to work out. Maybe you're not good enough for plan A to work out. I hope all those things are wrong. And I hope plan A goes exactly as you wanted it to. But for goodness sake, don't neglect plan B. It's pretty important. It's pretty important that you show up to your job. It's pretty important that whilst you're at it and whilst you're building that thing on the side, your main job, you're smoking it. You're doing really well. You're liked, you're respected, you're admired, you're appreciated, you're performing well. People look at you and they say, you know what, that guy's got something. He works hard in work and he works hard out of work and he's getting the results in all elements and all aspects of his life. You want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy who prioritizes his side hustle to the point where it actually harms his performance in his job. You want to be the guy who excels in both. Because if the job goes, then you're in trouble. Then you haven't got food on the table. Then you're struggling to keep the lights on. Then you're really in deep water. It's good that you're ambitious. It's good that you want a nice life and you want to do different things to your family. You want to be the guy in your bloodline who just went down a different path. I get that. That's great. But the path is going to take some time. It's meant to take some time. Don't try and rush the process. And don't try and prioritize the thing that you are building up over your base. You may want to give it more importance in your head. I understand that. Maybe you care more about that than your job just in your mind. But don't neglect the thing that puts food on the table. Become excellent at that. Work hard at that. Be the best you can be at that, and be the best at your side hustle, and be the best at the thing you're building up on the side. That's the formula. And guys that get that do really, really well. They do really well. Guys that just try and give everything to the side hustle but dabble and get by at work, they struggle. They struggle because they're just drifting. They're drifting, and more than likely because they don't have a mindset of commitment in all aspects of their life. When things get tough in that side hustle, the side hustle changes. Be a guy who is disciplined everywhere. Be a guy who is consistent and hardworking everywhere. Not just in the places that you want to be, but every element of your life. And I promise you, that's not going to harm you. I promise you, that's going to put you in a better position. I can't promise you it's going to allow you definitely to realize all of your goals, but I can definitely promise you your life isn't going to be worse for following that philosophy. So keep working, keep dreaming, keep grinding, keep building in silence. Don't be talking about your plans too much. Don't be telling everybody about your side hustle. Work like a dog on the side hustle, but work like a dog in the job as well. Give everything you got to give. Become as skilled as you can possibly become. Give your managers, give your bosses, whatever, every single reason to pay you more, to promote you, to show you off. Just be efficient and consistent and dedicated in every area of your life. It won't make anything any worse. Anyway guys, if you took some value from this video, hit the like button, comment your thoughts down below, and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new around here. As always, thank you for your time and attention, and I'll see you in the next one.